The story of how a skateboard turned from a wooden box into a modern popsicle.
FlexiRacer is a wheeled sporting sled that first appeared in the United States in the early 20th century. Its invention is primarily linked to the S.L. Allen and Company of Philadelphia. The creator, Samuel Lyons Allen, was famous for his flexible flyer sleds, and the FlexiRacer was developed as their summer version, a more versatile model for riding on roads. How the FlexiRacer appeared history. In the early 1900s, there was a demand for adapted sleds that could be used not only in winter on snow, but also in summer on paved roads. In the 1930s, a product called the FlexiRacer was introduced to the market. Idea: the FlexiRacer was similar to the flexible flyer sled, but instead of runners, it had wheels, allowing it to ride on hard surfaces such as asphalt. Production: FlexiRacer was manufactured by S.L. Allen Company and later by other producers based on the company's patents. FlexiRacer construction and board size body, usually made from a wooden board, sometimes reinforced with metal parts. Frame: metal, steel with wooden elements. Wheels: 4 rubber wheels, 2 in front and 2 in back, with pivoting front axle for steering, just like the sled version. Steering: the front axle turns with a lever, operating similarly to flexible flyer sleds. Size: board length typically ranges from 80 to 100 centimeters, 32 to 40 inches. Width: approximately 35 to 40 centimeters, 14 to 16 inches. Height to top: around 12 to 18 centimeters. Usage: a child or teenager lies on their stomach and steers by turning the handle. Braking is done by dragging feet on the ground. Load capacity: designed for children weighing from about 20 to 50 kilograms, 45 to 110 pounds.
These are scooters in boxes. 1930s to 1940s. The first prototypes, known as crate scooters or simply boards with roller skate wheels. Structures, parts, and dimensions, structures, parts. Board, platform. Typically a wooden plank, sometimes the lid of a crate or thick plywood. Wheels. Roller skate wheels were used. Sometimes the skates were cut in half to provide 2 axles for the front and back. Axle: a basic wooden or metal rod to mount the wheels. In some versions, the wheels were attached directly to the board without a separate axle. Handle: in some models. Early crate scooter prototypes had a wooden handle or box attached to the board for better control, which was later removed. Dimensions: board length, usually 40 to 60 centimeters, about 16 to 24 inches. Board width: 15 to 25 centimeters, about 6 to 10 inches. Height: if there was a handle or box, the total height could reach 80 to 100 centimeters, about 31 to 39 inches. These early prototypes were very basic. Their construction depended on available materials and tools, and there was no industrial standardization. They weren't designed for tricks and were mostly used for cruising on pavement as an alternative to roller skates.
These, sidewalk surfing. In the 1950s, a unique subculture emerged in sunny California, USA. Between surfing on ocean waves and dreaming of endless summer, the first skateboarders appeared. They called their hobby sidewalk surfing, riding the waves only on asphalt. It all started with a simple idea: to capture the feeling of surfing without having to wait for the right waves. Dozens of young guys made boards with their own hands. We used ordinary wooden platforms. Metal roller wheels from skates were screwed to them. The outdoor slopes of California locations are the perfect space for experimentation. Skateboarders held competitions to see who could go further and faster down the slope, often at their own risk. The metal wheels on the asphalt slid and did not cling, so falls were common. Nevertheless, the spirit of freedom, excitement, and friendship was everywhere. The first skateboards were so simple that there was no real skating technique. Everyone learned from their mistakes. These crazy guys were the first to bring surfing to the streets of the city, marking the beginning of a completely new sport, skateboarding. The design was as simple and primitive as possible. The board had neither a tail nor a nose. There was no bulge or bend. The management was carried out mainly by courage and luck. They braked by jumping off the board. The main parts of the first skateboards. 1. Deck is the main platform used by the rider. Material, wood. Shape, perfectly straight without any bends, tail, and nose. 2. Wheels were removed from roller skates. Material, metal, sometimes clay, very hard, poor grip on asphalt. 3. Suspension. These parts connected the wheels to the deck. They used either roller skates removed from the same ones or homemade, simple metal fasteners. The dimensions of the first skateboards. Deck length, approximately 50 to 70 centimeters. Deck width, approximately 15 to 20 centimeters. Wheel diameter, about 5 to 6 centimeters. These were on roller skates. Important features. The board was heavier than modern skates and much simpler in structure. Because of the small and hard wheels, skating was dangerous. The board could suddenly stop on any pebble. There was no grip tape, which made the feet slide much harder on the board. This is the Skateboard Nash Shark. Vintage Nash Shark skateboard from the 1960s. Nash Manufacturing was founded by Bill Nash in Fort Worth, Texas. In the 1980s, it became one of the largest skateboard manufacturers in the world. Mass appeal, unlike professional brands, Nash focused on the mass market. Their boards were cheaper and were available to every child in a regular sports store. The golden era of Shark models peaked in the mid to late 1980s. Models like Nash Executioner or Nash Goon with aggressive shark graphics became a symbol of the pop culture of that time. For many modern skateboarding legends, it was the Nash that became the first board in their lives. Technical specifications. Length is approximately 21.5 inch to 22. The width is approximately 5 inch to 5.5. Trucks. Massive aluminum suspensions, often painted in bright neon colors. Wheels. Large and soft, designed for riding on uneven asphalt. Material. The decks were made of 7-layer maple, but the quality of pressing was sometimes inferior to professional brands. Nash Shark skateboards stood out for their aggressive design. Graphics. Bright, often acidic colors and detailed shark prints that looked intimidating. Weight. Due to the abundance of plastic protection and the wide soundboard, the boards were quite heavy. Handling. They were great for cruising and riding in empty pools or ramps, but were too heavy for modern flip tricks. Price availability. This was a main trump card. Nash offered a complete set at a price that was 2 to 3 times lower than the professional set. Banana board skateboards were a cult phenomenon in the 1970s, being molded plastic boards with a distinctive curved shape and often bright yellow in color, resembling a banana. They were popular due to their accessibility, durability, and maneuverability. Features of banana boards from the 1970s. Material. Most of the original banana boards were made of molded polypropylene in various colors. There were also fiberglass and even aluminum options for manufacturers, such as Bonsai. Shape. The boards featured a narrow, curved shape with a pronounced, which allowed skaters to perform kick-turn turns and simplified control. This shape was inspired by surfing culture and was suitable for cruising on sidewalks. Size. The typical length was about 21 to 24 inches. Wheels and suspensions. Early versions could have steel wheels, but the widespread and boom in popularity occurred during the advent of polyurethane wheels in the early 1970s. Polyurethane provided better grip and smoother ride, which significantly improved the riding quality. The pendants were often simple and matched the narrow deck. The history of skateboarding, Road Rider and Old School. Skateboard Road Rider. The 1975 model year was revolutionary primarily due to its polyurethane wheels with precision bearings. Prior to this, skateboarding used less efficient wheels with loose ball bearings. Features of Road Rider Cruiser. In 1975, Road Rider wheels became a key innovation that improved the speed, grip, and smoothness of skateboards. Soundboard shape. The most common shape was a fishtail or simply rectangular with rounded ends, sometimes with a small or flat tail. Decks for cruising and slalom were often elongated to provide stability and legroom when carving. Slalom decks, such as the Gandes Fiberflex, often had a pronounced warp tail shape where the tail of the board was bent upwards. The length of the boards varied, but typical sizes range from about 25 to 36 inches. Elongated versions could reach 42 inches. The width of the boards at that time was relatively small by modern standards, usually in the range of 5.5 to 7.5 inches. The narrow boards provided maneuverability, which was appreciated in slalom. Suspensions. In 1975, truck manufacturers began developing suspensions specifically for skateboarding to match the new, more efficient Road Rider wheels. Early tracks were narrow, but the Road Rider wheels were designed to be mounted on standard 8mm axles. Road Rider wheels, made of upgraded polyurethane composition, which provided excellent grip and stability on vertical walls and during downhill. They were equipped with sealed precision bearings, protected from sand and dirt, which made riding incredibly smooth and vibration-free compared to previous standards. Old school skateboards originated in the 1980s in California as sidewalk surfing, developing from homemade boards with steel wheels to wide decks with concave, designed for riding in pools, and vert ramps. This style is characterized by a wide shape, pronounced tail, and the absence of a nose kick. The 1980s were the era of vert. Skateboards became wider, acquired a deep concave, and a fishtail shape for vertical riding. Brands such as Powell Peralta appeared. Typical sizes. Although the specific sizes depend on the model and brand, old school soundboards usually have the following parameters. Width usually ranges from 9 to 10 inches, although models with widths up to 10.5 inches or more are found. This width provides greater stability. Length varies between 30 to 33 inches. They are usually slightly shorter than standard modern street decks, but wider. Wheelbase. It can be different, for example, 15.5 inches for some models, which affects the turning radius and stability. It is often flatter or with a light concave compared to modern boards, although modern reissues may have a deeper concave. These boards are perfect for 80s-style skating, turntables, and cruising. The 90s were the golden era and, at the same time, the most radical period of skateboarding transformation. This is the time when the skate moved from huge vertical ramps to the streets, and the equipment turned from wide fish into our usual ice cream sticks. Changing the focus to the street. At the beginning of the decade, the popularity of ramps fell, and the focus shifted to street skating. Skaters began to use the urban environment, benches, railings, and stairs. The launch of the X Games, ESPN hosted the first extreme games in Rhode Island. This event brought skateboarding to TV screens and helped it become a professional sport. Tony Hawk's record. At X Games V, Tony Hawk landed a 900-degree jump for the first time in history. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. The release of the first part of the video game made skateboarding popular, introducing millions of people to the culture. Shape. In 1991, double kickboards began to appear, where the nose and tail became almost identical. Narrow decks. The width of the boards dropped to 7.3 to 7.5 inch. This made the skate light, but extremely unstable. Slicks, a popular technology of the time, was a plastic layer at the bottom of the soundboard for better sliding along the edges. Wheels bearings. The wheels have shrunk to an absurd 38 to 42 millimeters. They were so small that the nuts on the axles stuck out and rubbed off on the asphalt. These wheels were called bearing covers. Style and culture. A recognizable style of the 90s appeared. Wide trousers, oversized t-shirts, and massive sneakers with thick padding to protect the feet. Technicality. Thanks to Rodney Mullen and other innovators, skaters began combining flips, grinds, and manuals into complex technical bundles.